Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bored to Death. I'm pumped. Pumped probably is, my vocabulary isn't good enough because I'm not smart. But pumped doesn't nearly do it justice at how excited I am to have these two guys on today. It's Josh and John from Ikon. I could start by calling them a fitness company, but again, not doing them justice. They're one of the first to ever truly put together, in my mind, body, spirit, science, education, functional strength, and exercise under an all-encompassing roof that is incredibly diverse. That their facility is accommodating to CrossFit, strength athletes, athletes in general, competitors at life, powerlifting. That's essentially everything, and it's so exciting to me as someone that is a former athlete and kind of falls into that category as a competitor in life. Anything I want to do to test myself, to make myself better, that gym is accommodating, and all the other services you guys offer is stuff that no other, and again, I'm going to say fitness company just because I don't really know how to categorize you guys, and that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
So here I have Josh and John. I always kind of like to start with a little bit of background with people as I talked to you guys when you first got here, because that kind of reveals sort of the why behind how we do stuff. I know a little bit amount about you, Josh, just because we've talked a little bit. John, I've known you for a while, and I know nothing about you.
He's an enigma.
What are you hiding?
I've been around a while. Yeah. Well, I'll kind of start. Yeah. So, I started when I was younger as a trainer, and I've always been into fitness and stuff like that. So I did that for a while, and then actually, went around and did some different jobs, but ended up starting a clinic. Actually, with my parents. Like one of those kids that I learned from my parents. They're both entrepreneurs, and started a clinic that mostly focused on weight loss, and just kind of learned from there. From there, my parents left it to me, and I took over, and I was actually failing at the time, the clinic, but I took it online, and I started it into a telemedicine clinic. And so since then, I've been doing telemedicine, and if you don't know what telemedicine is, we do a lot of wellness services. So things that can be done online, things like B12 injections, lipotropics. We now do peptides online actually as well. So things like CJC 1295, ipamorelin.
And that's stuff that, since you bring it up, that is stuff that's falling kind of into one of the neat things that you're including the use of biologics in you guys' programs.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what I got into as far as online, and that kind of moves into what I brought back local again. And so when I met Josh, I had started.
Fateful day.
We had the gym at the time. And it was called Beneath the Bar.
Yeah.
You were training.
Was that when you guys first started at the old location, kind of down by the river, sort of? So you guys had known each other?
No. So it just kind of happenstance. Actually, Jake, I don't remember what's his last name, Carpenter.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jake Carpenter. He introduced me because my whole, so I don't have a business background at all. This is my first business, and I'm learning as I go, and obviously I'm learning from them. But my whole approach was help people as much as possible, and that's what I'm bringing here. But I met Jake, and he had kind of assumed that I was just going to give him the regular old bodybuilder, hey, eat the rice and the chicken and the spinach and stuff like that. And I sat down with him for an hour, and we talked about how important micronutrients are, and your sleep timing. And this was kind of at the tail end, or I'd say the beginning of the nightmare that was the fitness industry. I mean, for the last 20 years, it's been absolute garbage. And there's been there's definitely been some people preaching the right things. I mean, there always has been, but the advent of social media has been it's increased the reach that people have when they don't know what they're talking about. And so I met John, and I went over to his house. Actually, it was a little bit weird. His house was all empty. Were you moving at the time, or?
Oh, we just moved. We just built a house up in Riata, and it was massive and stupid and large. And
yeah,
we moved out of that house by now, but already. But
so I get out there, and basically, I had no idea what was going on. He had asked Jake to help him with putting some protocols together to help people with wellness. And I get over there, and like it seemed as if I was just telling them that everything they were doing was their approach was going to be wrong.
Yeah.
And I thought that was going to be the end of it. Next thing you know,
so you just saw like online and you reached out to them? Or
I met Jake and he took me over there.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, he took me over there.
Right.
He called me on the phone, actually. You got to meet this guy. He knows everything. So.
Yeah.
And actually, funny story, John doesn't know this, but I actually applied for a job at Beneath the Bar and they did not call back. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
We didn't call anyone back, by the way, though. There was one trainer Beneath the Bar.
Yeah.
And that was Paul, right?
Yeah.
When I got out of the Marine Corps, I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no direction other than, honestly, I knew I wanted to help people. And I love fitness, and so it was kind of a default decision for me, but it was one of the best decisions I made for sure. But I knew that I just need to get the reps in, so I was helping everybody as much as possible, and from that you realize just like I've told this to John since I've known him. Trainers should be the entry into the medical care system. We can help people on that level. We can keep people from seeing chiropractors. We can help people from seeing physical therapists. We can help people from getting off. I just had a lady last week. She got off of her cholesterol medication, and I mean the long-term ramifications of being on statin. It's not statin. Whatever the cholesterol medication is. It's detrimental to everything. It destroys your brain. Your brain needs those fats. So. Like little victories like that is what really showed me that we need to help people on a deep level. And I'm bringing that to Ikon. We're bringing that to the whole Ikon name. And I was hesitant at first, though. I'm going to be honest. When John had me, I learned that we were going to be working with peptides and stuff. I was hesitant because peptides, you get that off the internet. You don't know what you're getting. But when you start to dig in, like you said, the biologics, they are exactly what's in our body. They are exactly what we need to trigger some sort of reaction. It's just a chemical messenger. And so I'm very excited. We've been building a diet using peptides, using Samoralin and CJC. So it's been a journey. It's been interesting. I feel incredibly lucky. I know that I've worked for it, and we've grown a lot since just knowing each other since 2018, something like that.
Yeah.
But we're extremely excited to get this going.
Yeah, and that's why I really, really wanted both of you guys on here, because I know each different person brings something different to the table, and that's and then that synergy that works with that obviously metastasizes as something successful, And when you guys have heard some terms thrown around like biologics and peptides. Essentially what those are, and anybody step in here if I start to get anything wrong. Peptides are what amounts to long or short chains of amino acids or proteins, and they're isolated, generally to have a specific effect. And the nice thing about a peptide, as opposed to any other medication, or even if you guys have heard of the term nutraceutical or supplement, is that when you take those, your body has kind of a cause and an effect reaction, whereas a peptide has a specific action, and it's something your body's familiar with, so it's very easy to get a specific outcome from its use. Correct?
Yeah,
That was very good.
Close. So,
Yeah.
So peptides is just a fragment. So there's only going to be one part of a protein that does anything. So it'll bind, that part binds to a binding site on a cell, and it exerts a certain action. What they do is they take that fragment that actually is functional, and they put that in. So it's extremely, extremely small. It's only a small part of that protein, but it does the same job. And the beautiful thing about that is like you said, it works with your body. So we were talking about Samoralin yesterday.
Right.
Samoralin it's a GHRH. It's a growth hormone releasing hormone mimic. It literally binds to your pituitary gland and says release growth hormone. That's beautiful the way that it does it, because instead of just injecting exogenous growth hormone where your levels are through the roof and you end up getting all types of internal organ growth, stuff like that, your body knows what to do with it. So when you get that whatever threshold of growth hormone you want, your body wants, it cuts it off.
Yeah.
So that's the major difference. And if you're getting peptides online, it's almost certainly just anabolic steroids.
Yeah.
It's almost always what it is.
You never know where it's coming from, and India, China, and there's
nobody
nobody tested. I mean, you're going to inject something too, right? It's pretty scary.
and that's a great point. It's like, you're introducing this quite possibly complete foreign substance inside your body, and once it's in there, it could be party time. It could be, who knows, Some
guys in a bathtub in China.
Right. And that's what's kind of scary coming with, I want to get back. So I want to, I'll touch on this, and then I kind of want to go back to a little bit more of your background, Josh. Yeah, as a guy, and we kind of talked about this, like back when I was playing football in college, I did everything from, dealers that would make me a better athlete, so I thought, back in the day, whether it was, Dianabol, growth hormone, different types of anabolic steroids that has kind of obviously thrown my body into a tailspin later on in life. And that's why I think probably 3 years ago I started on the peptides, Samorelin and
Epinephrine?
Yes.
The one we talked about yesterday?
Yes, exactly.
I thought you had to say it yesterday.
Yeah. Okay. And then testosterone replacement therapy. And that's because all the stuff we do to our bodies when we're producing that at a peak state, later on in life, it has this cascading effect of everything kind of those doors shutting. Yeah. And we got to use things, and biologics are great. There's a reference a doctor made in one of the videos I was watching that biologics and peptides in general are kind of like those keys to open back up specific doors. Yeah. And so that's been helping me a ton, probably. And then I know Luke has been on them for a time. Chris, you never went with the peptides, correct? No. Yeah. But amazing feel for me, like as a guy that works shift work, trains pretty hard and does some things like that. I don't think any of that would be possible without the use of peptides or the hormone replacement therapy. But yeah, that aside, like I said, I wanted to get a little bit more of your background, Josh, just because that's not a from where you are now to being an infantryman in the Marine Corps and to where you are now. That doesn't fit at all close to a stereotype that you would think. And it's obviously we'd like to dispel stereotypes when possible. So where is like that journey from that? Was this always something that interested you, or is it something that kind of grew?
So I would start at the beginning, but I think I need to go back further. No, so I
saw what you did there.
He's prepared for this.
Yes.
No, I mean, I'll drop off his quotes all day. So I started lifting when I was probably 12 years old, and from that point, I mean, we're talking 10 years of banging my head against the wall, listening to every bigger dude, oh, you got to buy that supplement. Oh, that's why you're not jacked yet. You got to do this.
The inventive bro science.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're not working hard enough. You got to be the hardest worker in the room. And to some degree, I understand that. But when you spend years and years and you don't make any progress and you're buying everything, it's devastating to some people. And that's really what set me down the path of learning the right thing for fitness. Not yet, though. So as I was getting out of the Marine Corps, a couple of years before I got out of the Marine Corps, I developed a horrible autoimmune condition. I have psoriasis. I still have to deal with it. Like, I got all over my side right now because I was sleeping in a hotel with horrible laundry detergent on the sheets. But so when I go to the Navy doctor, they say, well, you just put this steroid cream on for the rest of your life. And I'm like, how is that? I looked up the pricing. It was $1,200 a month. So I'm going to get out of the Marine Corps making no money. I'm going to pay $1,200 a month for this cream that doesn't even work, by the way.
Yeah.
It was all over my scalp. It was absolutely horrible. So my mom had psoriasis as well. So I immediately I thought, okay, this is just something I'm going to have to deal with the rest of my life. Yeah. My mom has it. And that was really the point in which I said, okay.
And it seems to be a hereditary
autoimmune, the proclivity for autoimmune issues. But it also, I mean, mine came from almost certainly from NSAID use. So I took NSAIDs for playing baseball, playing sports. So you probably were popping ibuprofen, like it's cool.
Yeah, and cortisone, like it was going out of style.
Man.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about cortisol
later.
So if you're taking NSAIDs, you are destroying your gut lining. Combine that with if you're outside in the heat, oh man. So you're opening up your gut and you're letting undigested proteins in, and then combine that. I was poor, so I'm living off eggs. Yeah. You're eating egg whites all day. So now if I eat eggs, I mean, I can get away with it once, but I still have a reaction to it, like an immune response to it. So it's not that the foods were inherently causing the problem. It's the fact that my gut was letting all these undigested proteins into my bloodstream. So long story short, I spent years studying and learning because it wasn't coming from doctors. I remember my mom. I mean, it's rough because my mom is on every medication under the sun, as most people are as they get older, and one of them is immune suppressants. So this last, since COVID hit, I went on a mission learning everything I could about the immune system because she was on immune suppressants. Like, and you're going to be out in public and your immune system's not functioning properly. Plus, you have all these other, risk factors. And then taking a step back after I was going through that, and I'm like, okay. Everything that we've said up to this point, lifting weights, reducing stress, sleeping, is what people need to be doing right now. And that's what I was not doing. So those things, when I got put on, Ambien one time because I wasn't sleeping. She didn't ask me if I was drinking my pre-workout at 4:00 in the afternoon. Yeah. She just put me on Ambien, and then next thing you know, I'm not waking up for work. I'm not showing up to formation. So all of these things, they accumulate to the point where I get out of the Marine Corps, I do have a PTSD diagnosis. I've worked on it a lot. It's something that I've worked through quite a bit. But getting out of the Marine Corps, you don't know how to handle life, especially as an infantryman. I didn't get any job skills. I could be a cop, but even then, you have to keep your nose clean. So that's a little bit out of the question for me sometimes. So I don't know what I'm going to do. So I spend years working on myself. I'm reading every self-help book, every personal development book under the sun, studying all types of all the way from Paulo Coelho, the Alchemist, books like that. So manifestation, all the way down to Paul Chek. So learning how to meditate, how everything, and that accumulated into all the way back. I'm digging deep into all these different subjects, and it always comes back to the basics: sleep, stress, eat enough protein, eat your vegetables so you get micronutrients, stay hydrated, get some sun, all these basic things. And like I was telling you yesterday, it's almost criminal that we get to help people with this. It seems criminal to me because it's all stuff that we should be taught as children. And I was never taught this. I was never taught how to take care of myself on a level that is not even optimal, but bare minimum. So that's what put me down this, because I haven't gone to the doctor other than, obviously the blood tests here and there. For having psoriasis, because I handle it myself. I need to, because I'm not getting put on immune suppressants. I'm not getting put on any of these steroids. I'm not taking corticosteroids all day. And then destroying myself even further. So at the root of Ikon, that our mission is to help people, because nobody was helping us. Nobody helped us when we were younger. These things that are so simple to do, we weren't taught.
In a lot of my own path of dealing with, I broke my back and neck in the Army and had probably 8 knee surgeries, and I had kind of by necessity had to figure out other ways to mitigate that pain. And it's and again, not discrediting any physicians or anything like that, but after seeing doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor, whether they were in holistic medicine or a practitioner of something else, it was so many things that seemed counterintuitive. Like the less active I was, the more the pain set in, and that's why even today, a guy that was paralyzed for a short amount of time, I would like to think I pushed myself pretty hard through some stuff still, and that's the only reason I continue to be able to do that, is because you keep, it's that term "move it or lose it" really, comes from, actual science, I think.
Yes.
And kind of through that also ended up weaning myself off, probably 6 or 7 different, either corticosteroids or, steroidal anti-inflammatories, oxy, all that stuff. And because I think when I did it, when I was in the Army, that when you get hurt in the Army, either they way underdo it or way overdo it.
They give you Motrin water and
and being a medic, I was the guy handing that out most of the time. Drink some water, take your Motrin. And
now, are you sure you got a knee surgery? Have you heard about the placebo surgeries?
No.
They'll cut your knee and tell you that you have it, and you heal as if you had gotten the surgery. It's obviously a minor structural injury, and I'm not sure if it's all ligaments in the knee or not. But they do it to where they just cut you, tell you got the surgery. Obviously, you sign some sort of consent.
That is crazy. But so I think I kind of got off the path a little bit. So, John, when you because this was obviously like beneath the bar that has become Ikon. This obviously it was something that you birthed in your mind. Is this where you always wanted things to go, or is this something that kind of developed over time? Like when you had your vision, for lack of a better word.
It developed really. Yeah. We honestly, the gym we started because we wanted a cool place to work out.
Yeah.
And so it was a smaller. It was like it was 2,000 square feet.
Uh-huh.
We had a couple squat racks and a few other machines in there, and we just worked out in there, and it grew really quickly. So we had a lot of people join the gym.
And that's great, and because you guys have always cultivated like a community as opposed to just members, which I think that's what I mean. Besides, you guys have, I think, what is the most kick-ass facility I've worked out in. Check them out. It's that community feel, like it's people know each other, people look out for each other. That's how I've always felt, and that's so sorry to interrupt, but
right from the beginning, like it's probably just because we were hanging out there. We were doing pretty good in business and everything, and so let's start a gym. So we started the gym, and it was kind of fun for us. We just met everyone that came in. We talked to everyone that came in. So people made a big deal about that. It's like, oh, the owners are there and they say hi to you, you know, and all the members started to meet each other and everything. It was tiny too. Right. And then we grew quick enough that we, went over to the new location. I have 6,000 square feet now, and we're able to add a lot of stuff. And that kind of feel has kind of followed,
Yeah.
So really how that, this bigger thing came to be, where we have two businesses right now. They're just co-branded pretty well. It's Ikon Health, Ikon Fitness.
Right.
So this is the gym, and there's the health clinic. And that's kind of, we're kind of evolving that right now, where the clinic is going to be, obviously the medical side of things.
Right.
It's going to be mostly centered around the coaching. And so that's kind of what it's evolved into, is we want to have these two things that work together really well. Eventually, hopefully building like a compound, putting the gym with the clinic, inviting some other, professionals in as well. And then having a place where people can go to get like everything.
And actually, cultivating a much larger community, but one that feels like a small one. Shoot, I just lost my train of thought. This happens once in a while.
It's okay.
It's the dementia.
We can talk about anything.
A lot of blows to the head. I was an offensive lineman.
Speaking of that, that was part of it, because I was a catcher for 18 years, and then I go in the Marine Corps, get blown up a bunch of times.
Oh, jeez.
So, like, it's almost, when I'm choosing foods, when I'm deciding what I'm doing, it's not even like, oh, is this going to make me gain weight, or is this going to make me have more energy? It's like, I don't want to have Alzheimer's when I'm older. Yeah. I don't want to get that test to see, what is it, the APO3?
Yeah, is that the one they're testing all the NFL players with now?
Yes. So if you have APO3 and you get a head injury, I think that you are going to get Alzheimer's or some sort of neurodegenerative.
Yeah, there's like an incredibly high percentage that predisposes you to.
Yeah, and they're seeing. That one NFL player that I don't know, he chased his girlfriend, fell off a truck and died, and they did a autopsy on him, and he had the brain of like Alzheimer's brain of like a 60-year-old.
It is insane when they show the scans of these guys' brains, like what a I hate using this word, quote, normal, unquote, but a normal / average, again in quotes, brain of someone that's suffering through this suffered multiple brain traumas, and it almost looks like the area that connects your left and right hemisphere or something like that. There's almost like a
corpus callosum.
Yeah, like a hole through, almost like splits your brain like distinctively in half, and it's just insane that like there's that this person can still manage to somewhat be functioning with the occasional violent outburst.
But that just speaks to the neuroplasticity of your brain, how resilient it is, and if you allow it to function, just function. If you a lot of stuff that I have to tell people, it's not like, hey, add this supplement, add this, do this, start lifting, doing this. It's taking away things that they're doing to themselves. That's pushing them away from health. It, like, again, I'm gonna say this a million times: sleeping, moving, handling stress, eating micronutrients. Like, it's so simple, but nobody's doing it consistently yet. The cognitive thing. Like the cognitive function is my nightmare. Waking up and start realizing that you're getting Alzheimer's. I want to help everybody get away from that as much as possible.
And it's because that's probably out of all the diseases, that is like, it's one it's always in the back of my mind. Like, as an offensive lineman, you butt heads with you probably run anywhere from 90 to 110 offensive plays a game, and you're butting heads with a guy every single one of those. And it's nothing ever like that happened, to me in the military like happened to you. But that stuff there's no way to avoid completely the long-term effects of that. You can try to stave them off as long as possible. But it's an unfortunate reality. Sometimes and bringing up the cognitive side of that, when and kind of doing the research leading up to this podcast, and I really felt this from you, Josh, and when you talk about the training and the functionality and stuff like that, is bringing this real intentional way of taking care of your body, not just something that you're doing. It's like a conscious, intentional way of going about it, as opposed to just so many other things in life that we do unconsciously. And working out is really a weird one, because it seems like you're physically engaged, but there's no intention with a lot of people that are doing it. And that's where one of the many services you guys offer, and I loved how you put it, John, in not training but coaching, because that's what it is. That's more what it is. And it's like and that's a completely different hat than a trainer wears. Yeah. And so
most trainers,
and thank you. I don't want to use a blanket statement or anything like that. Can you guys speak on that a little bit?
The difference between training and coaching. Training, and you do see this with a lot of personal trainers. When your client shows up to their appointment, you're on. When they leave, you don't care about them again until they leave. And in some ways, it makes training a lot easier, because the bar for being a good trainer is pretty freaking low. Don't hurt your client, help them lose weight. But that's not where it should end. Like I said, if we're at the beginning of the medical system, we need to be thinking about every single thing that can matter in their life, which unfortunately is everything about them. As much as they're willing to share, you need to know. So the difference between training and coaching: training is walking somebody through a workout, holding their hand, spotting them. Coaching is thinking every single thing. How'd they sleep last night? Oh, they're having a fight with their spouse. Maybe we shouldn't push it to a 10 today. Maybe we need to do some mobility and relax. And that was something I was going to say earlier. When you say you're working night shifts and you like to push yourself in the gym, you're pushing that intensity button. I think you're smart. I know you're smart enough to know when you need to ring it back. Yeah. But coaching, and the coaching we're doing with Ikon, it's all encompassing to the point where I'm asking people about their poop who haven't even thought about. They haven't even thought about. I was just listening to
a great Ben Greenfield podcast on poop the other day. Yeah.
I'm glad we brought up poop.
It's really not a conversation unless poop is brought up.
It's so crucial. Like, it tells you so much about it.
There's new just kind of add on to what you're saying. There's new toilets and toilet companies that make toilet seats that do a full bioanalysis of your poop and your urine.
Sometimes I don't want to know, though. I know what I did wrong.
Yeah. And this, they even have. They were joking about it. There's it even identifies you, so it can get specific information about each person that
you should bring that on your podcast.
Yeah. It works like Face ID, but it reads your anal creases have a distinct signature, just like your fingerprints.
Wow, you learn something.
And that's how it identifies each individual person that uses it to get like specific data. That's for each person in the household.
Interesting.
That's amazing.
But your microbes in your poop are just as unique as fingerprints. So,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, me and Haley were just talking about the fecal transplants the other day, and how, like, if you want to save somebody's life from C. diff, you give them a fecal transplant, and it seems to be like the only thing that you can do.
It's the gift that really.
Although someone did die recently, I don't know what happened, but someone, I think down in Texas, died from a fecal transplant rather recently.
You have to explain fecal transplants so everyone knows. By the way,
freeze-dried poop, usually from somebody that you live with, so you have a pretty similar microbial footprint. I told Haley I got Haley if she ever needs it. I got the healthiest poop you can imagine.
Yes.
It's fascinating. So this hasn't been fleshed out in human trials, I don't think, but you give obese rat poop to a non-obese rat, and they start developing an obese phenotype. They start to like become obese, and vice versa. You can flip that. So, but I mean, that just plays into the nervous system. So your vagus nerve is attached to your gut. It's a two-way street. Your gut talks to your brain. Your microbes in your gut talk to your brain through the vagus nerve, and vice versa. I mean, your enteric nervous system has more.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I believe at the fetal stage, your neural and stomach cells are connected.
That makes sense.
And then they split off as you obviously mature into whatever. I don't mean to use bad terms or anything. Sometimes I'm not smart. So.
No, it's very. I mean, your enteric nervous system has more nerve endings than I think the rest of your body combined. Has more and produces more serotonin than your brain does. So your gut it's absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, and the best window into that. Well, one of the best windows is your stool, your poop, But the thing is, having a jacked up gut, it doesn't manifest as gut symptoms often. It's skin. It's brain fog, depression, inability to sleep, like insomnia, all these things that are their sickness. It's manifesting because of something in
from
your
gut health.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and there really hasn't been a focus on gut health that I can remember until the last maybe 5 years.
I don't know. You look at Paul Chek. Paul Chek was talking about it.
Oh
back in
yeah,
the
yeah,
80s,
Paul
in
Chek,
the
but
80s.
no one was listening.
No, nobody
Yeah.
is listening still.
Yeah, and it's and you're right that a lot of those and you're seeing a higher instance statistically of and this goes into another thing which I'm going to get into with you guys as nutrient injections, which I think is a completely fantastic idea. So I want to hit on everything you guys do. You're seeing a higher and higher instance of autoimmune diseases / disorders, and higher and higher amount of what would not normally seem, I guess, of other conditions that are imminent, like Crohn's, colitis, psoriasis, like you mentioned, and a host of other ones. And a lot of it stimulates, can be addressed by diet and exercise. And you guys, going into what I was talking about, the nutrient injections that you guys do, is I don't think if guys that are listening to this, this is a massively huge thing, because 99% of you are nutrient and vitamin deficient, and at least half of you are vitamin D deficient, probably more than that. Yes. And that's a low. I'm trying to even. I think the actual number was 99.6 or something.
Well, you gotta separate deficient, like what the government or whatever the bodies think is deficient, from what's actually insufficient. Yeah, because RDAs really aren't efficient. Oh no, that's to keep someone alive. That's to keep the average person alive. And those were developed for a good reason. I mean, they developed them to we have this country that is undernourished. They don't have food supply. How can we keep them alive? But that doesn't play out over people that are athletes, people that are pushing themselves in the gym, people that want to function better than they were yesterday. Like vitamin D, for instance. Oh my God, vitamin D, it regulates over 1,000 genes, and you get 5% of your DNA.
Mentioning that, it's insane.
It's absolutely insane, and it's not the thing is vitamins in general are obviously important, but there's some that you need to focus on more than others, and vitamin D is it.
Vitamin D, B12 probably.
B12 for sure. It'll take you a little bit longer to manifest a deficiency in B12. It's certainly, and it depends on the person. So you can manifest a deficiency in anything rather quickly. I mean, biochemical individuality is insane. People's organs are different sizes. People's enzyme production rates are different. People's enzyme efficiency. Everybody is completely different. So I could say, oh, you need this much vitamin D every day, but who knows? You have to pay attention to that feedback. You can get a blood test every day, but that's not realistic.
Okay, and that was going to be my next questions. In I guess differentiating what you are deficient at, how does an individual go about that?
That's the thing. You can get blood tests, like I said, and that'll give you an idea. It'll hallmark any
But it is something that could change rapidly, like daily. Like
Yeah,
you
with
said.
daily. And that's the thing. Like they have you come in to test your cholesterol. What would happen if you had a stressful day? What happened if you went and lifted beforehand? What happened if you had a real fatty meal and your triglycerides are through the roof? Well, all these things, they take one snapshot in time. They take your vitamin D. Okay, but you just happen to have been working really hard for the last week and you were inside most of the day, and now your vitamin D's low and they don't know what to do. Like all these things, you can't take one snapshot in time. But coming back to vitamin D, like nobody gets enough, and even people that are supplementing with it, if you're not getting it with a fat source, you're not digesting it. It's absolutely crucial.
And that's a good point you bring up too. It's not just necessarily the vitamin or nutrient in itself. It's a lot of them work in synergy with other micro or macronutrients in order to have enhanced effect. Like I think calcium in best works with magnesium or something.
You want a balance of everything. Dumping too much of one.
Like that homeostasis.
Exactly. And that's what it all comes back down to. If you're shoving yourself away from homeostasis, you're not going to be able to do these things like lose weight, try to gain muscle, sleep well, have a good libido. You have to, it always comes back to balancing your body. And that sounds so catchy or, woo-woo.
Yeah.
But it's not.
I like
our
the
body.
woo-woo.
I know.
I'm all about it. Yeah.
That bro science.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually the one that we're really pushing for this Friday. We're doing injections at the gym is the vitamin D, because we're coming at the tail end of quarantine. I'd like to think people were outside. I don't think they were.
Yes.
And even if you are outside, a lot of the year, as far north as we are, you can't get vitamin D from you can't synthesize vitamin D. You're not getting enough UVB radiation.
And one question I was thinking, because I wanted the conversation to go here eventually, just like I said, just because of the high percentage of people that are vitamin D deficient. And I always think about this because I try to, anytime I'm outside, whether it's nice out or not, depending on what time of year, I try to have my shirt off a little bit. And just for like not just the cold shock, protein effect, which we'll get into, because that's, as far as you guys' use of saunas and red light and things like that, it's also something I want to talk about, because that's a great service you guys offer. And but the use of sunscreens, what does that's gotta, it's a lot of people don't put two and two together, but if it's blocking the spectrums of light that you're getting, it's got to be blocking whatever.
100%, and that's the trade-off. If you're outside a lot, you're not going to want to get too much sun exposure. I mean, I get burned within 10 minutes. I don't want to do that year after year, but I need to control that light exposure. I need to get vitamin D from the sun, and you have to have your shirt off. You have to be, 20 minutes naked will get you enough exposure to get vitamin D.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're about.
That's not even the worst thing about sunscreen, though. If you're talking about all these estrogens that you're finding, sunscreen's one of the worst.
And that's another awesome thing. I love where I don't know. You're like my wet dream, but in a good way, in a non-sexual way.
I don't know that.
That's the weirdest compliment
like an
you've probably ever gotten.
Yeah.
Just your head, inside your head's a beautiful place, Josh.
Thank you.
And that's what a lot of people don't know. Also, is like our skins are like a mouth. It's everything you put on it, you're drinking in. So everything that's full of parabens, different. I was feeling myself yesterday, and then you grabbed my protein bottle drink and made me feel like a little bitch. And then about what was probably causing tons of inflammation in my body.
Carrageenan, yeah.
And but all that stuff, just the things leach into our food sources, the things we put on our skins, put in our mouths on a daily basis, just from like I said, drinking that protein, eating overly processed foods, have a cascading effect on our hormonal production and our ability to synthesize nutrients.
Yeah. I mean, if it was just sunscreen that had xenoestrogens in it, I don't even remember what. Now, if I remember correctly, like the scary thing about getting the I don't even know what the name of it. It's got a crazy chemical name, but the xenoestrogens from the sunscreen is it'll bind to estrogen receptors in your skin, and stay there. For that UVB radiation will fuse. Jesus. I don't know what the rate of it, like how much of it actually happens, but now you're turning these estrogen receptors on, and that just, I mean, anything to do with your endocrine system is a freaking nightmare if you throw wrenches in it. I mean, like I told you yesterday, I mean, just like you, I took steroids when I was 19 because it was the cool thing to do. I mean, people were popping D-ball like it was crazy, so I thought, I'll go Trenbolone, I'll go with the horse steroid with 0 post-cycle. So I'm like at the tail end of maybe 5 years of consciously making sure that I take care of my body. And I think that, I mean, I put on muscle relatively well. I sleep well. My libido's fine. I handle stress well. So I think that I'm okay now, but I've gotten tested. I'm still low. Yeah. I'm just functioning low. Now, I don't know if I would have been higher otherwise. I'm sure I would have, but that's where tools like the Juve, the red light, that kind of stuff, that's where you're going to make your money in terms of like lasting, sustainable results for just balancing that.
And that Juve, they're probably, from the research I've done, they probably make the best red light on the market that what I've seen. That has such an incredible array of great effects on your body. Can you guys go over what those are? Just because they're,
Would you like me to take this?
It's like such a wide.
I let them take everything.
It's like you feel like it's like being Superman absorbing the sun's rays. I mean, that's essentially what it seems to do for your body.
Honestly, it is. So, man, where to even begin with this? So, red light therapy, it sounds like it's too good to be true, but it's not, because of the way that it fundamentally acts. And I've written about this extensively, because trying to convince people that standing in front of a red light, I mean, when you do it, you'll be like, okay, something's happening, because you can feel it, but like telling that to somebody, third party, is a little bit strange. Right. But light is medicine. Our light is like a nutrient, just like anything else, and we're only getting one kind of light now. We're only getting that blue light in the specific part of the light spectrum. Now with the Juve, the real advantage with Juve is the power output, and they live in a specific frequency. I don't even remember what it was, 630 to 680 or something like that. Right. And then the infrared. But anyway, so what it does is it penetrates your tissues, the near infrared does, and it actually excites an enzyme on your mitochondria called cytochrome C oxidase. If you can produce more energy, if your mitochondria are more efficient, whatever that cells, and then expand that to tissue, organ, system, if you do that, if you excite that enzyme and your mitochondria produce energy better, everything that cell, organ, all the way down the line does it better. So that's why you look at like this, this whole host of things that it may do, and it's like, oh, there's no way that light's doing it, but it's not. It's just stimulating the mitochondria at a very, very fundamental level. And then there's a little bit of like the hormetic stressor. So just like with the sauna, it's a stressful event, your body has to overcome it, and it becomes stronger, more resilient because of it, for various reasons.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. The other doctor I was reading, he kind of compared it to I think it was Friedrich Nietzsche that said it, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And in a lot of these instances, these saunas, cryotherapies, stressful weightlifting or exercise sessions, they're putting on these stressors, and those are medicine in and of themselves by the byproduct of that. I think people you guys have probably heard the terms heat and cold shock proteins that are a result of these, and those have a big effect on like glucose levels and
the HSPs. Like that's the longevity. That's what you're looking for the longevity. What it does is,
now, is that an effect on like telomeres or something?
Telomerase. If you want to increase telomerase, the enzyme that extends the telomeres, meditate.
I am a big time believer and practitioner of meditation. Yes. If you guys do not do it, it is life-changing.
It absolutely is.
There's a protocol. It's named after a certain doctor, but Greenfield was talking about it, and I bought enough. I found it online, and again, it's probably, who knows what the hell it really is, but epithelion, I think.
Epithelium.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's talked about it before.
Yeah, and it's supposed to. There's some documentation of actually a slight increase in telomere. What's it? Telometer?
Yeah, no, telomerase is the enzyme that increases.
Okay,
So your
all right.
telomeres are the little caps at the end of your DNA.
Okay,
Every time that cell
great,
replicates,
yeah.
a little bit comes off, and telomerase is something that can help repair that and at least prevent it from getting smaller. There's a lot of stuff that you can do. Fasting is one of them. Certain like resveratrol, but in reality, like all these little things are fancy. But if you're not sleeping, all the sauna in the world is not going to help you. If you're not eating decently, all the red light therapy in the world is not going to help you.
Right.
But the heat shock protein, so it's pretty fascinating. As far as I understand, they work on like a very fundamental level to help prevent and refold proteins. So if a protein's misfolded, it's not going to function properly.
Right, and that's. Can you explain what that is? Because I know Greenfield talks about it, the folding of proteins.
So
I don't really understand it.
the shape of a protein or an enzyme, whatever it is what dictates its function. And if so, you have primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary structures that goes all the way out, but it's a three-dimensional structure. So if that's not in the right it literally looks like a mushed up ball, but it's a very specific mushed up ball. And if it's not in the right shape, it's not going to function properly. And that can come from a lot of stuff, just oxidative stress. I mean, our cells are just pushing out, free radicals nonstop. And if we're not keeping up with it, then, eventually you're going to get some DNA damage, you're going to get some proteins damage and stuff like that. That's what the heat shock protein does. On like a more interesting and more applicable level, it helps preserve muscle mass. So that's why sauna for as you get older. I mean, as you get older, your body wants to fall apart. It's falling apart. It's more and more catabolic, and you just have to keep fighting against it. And
It's like an iPhone; it just keeps getting worse the longer you have it.
Exactly,
it just slowly degrades.
So
Can't buy a new one though.
So your body's falling apart as you get older, and the sooner that you can start taking steps, actual steps to prevent that from happening, from getting worse, the better, obviously.
So I had a question when you were kind of explaining how that the shortening of that with cell division. So does something, and this is, I'm just taking little bits of what I knowledge and trying to make some correlation with causation, which is a mistake a lot of the times, but it's a bad bias. Don't fall into that trap, people. The copy. The so with things like a peptide that increases growth hormone production, we know that growth hormone causes cell hyperplasia, and that's one of the ways.
Well, downstream IGF.
Okay. So would that have a contrary effect then overall than what if it because the telomeres shorten with cell division, so something that caused cell hyperplasia, that wouldn't have a longevity effect?
Are you talking hyperplasia or hypertrophy? So hyperplasia is
That's
actually
a
the splitting of the
cells.
cell. Yeah. So are you talking about like on a muscle level?
Yes.
So on a muscle level, the IGF is what's going to cause that. They don't even know for sure if hyperplasia exists in muscles.
Okay.
Like that's questionable. Now it's almost certainly does. I mean, you look at. I mean, you'd have to. What you have to do is you'd have to take a biopsy when you were a kid, find out, let you train for however many years, and then take another biopsy of the same exact spot and see if you grew more muscles. I
just always understood it that way because they really caution against it if you have cancer or any tumor growth.
The IGF.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, they're concerned about that with like BPC 157 as well.
Okay.
But back to your question, would that be counterintuitive to take like a growth hormone security drug?
Okay.
No, because you're doing that already. Your brain your pituitary gland usually.
That's a good point.
Your pituitary usually put out growth hormone. We are just, I mean, what is it? After you're 30, it drops 10% every decade on average.
Yeah.
Like that's you dying. That's your pre-programmed organismal death. Like you're not supposed to be alive
It's a
anymore.
morbid way to think about it, but it's true. I mean,
it's all in the programming.
It's and you brought up BPC 157. Because there's what I think 107. And I think this was back in 2015, over 107 FDA approved peptides for different things. So how did you guys, when you guys sat down and started figuring all this out and adding this additional service and the clinic and stuff like that, How did you guys settle on the ones you did, and why?
That's a good question, John.
A lot of it just has to do with what's available. Like, when we talk about getting the right stuff at the right place, you don't want to buy it online from, China or India or whatever.
Right.
And so really, like, it's what's available from a U.S. pharmacy, and things that have been used for quite a while, thanks to bodybuilders, really.
Things that have been tried and true.
Yeah, they've been trying it out and testing it on their bodies and, hurting themselves or not, And so, they've been taking it long enough that eventually it's been tested enough that these pharmacies start picking up on it. And
so all of you that came before, thank you.
Yeah.
For your
all you guys that
sacrifice.
hurt yourself and all the dead bodybuilders, but
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
but no, really, they're just a bunch of like pharmacies, but they've, it's been tested and pharmacies start making it and then they make something actually good and tested, and now a doctor can prescribe it to a patient, So
I call the BPC 157. I call it the gateway peptide because
Okay.
you could probably take let's take a Topo Chico full of BPC 157, chug that, and you'd be perfectly fine. Like,
Because some of it actually needs to be introduced via injection because taking it orally sometimes...
BPC is good. You can so it's a gastric peptide, so it's perfectly fine in your gut. Most others, it's gonna
But like a nutrient injection, like because I think glutathione is also one you guys do.
That's not making
I think
it through your
orally you don't.
Not at all.
Yeah, absorb that well.
Yeah, I mean it's made of amino acids. Your body deaminates it as soon as it hits that hydrochloric acid. But
we do that in IV too.
Yeah, so that's the injection. So you bypass the gut. You're able to increase blood levels through the roof when your body would have tightly regulated that. It's not going to dump a whole bunch of glutathione just because you swallowed it in pill form. Like, you have to put that into the bloodstream and like the BPC 157. It's pretty unique. Like there has never ever been a side effect from BPC 157.
Can you tell people what it is? Like I know what it is. All right, I think I do, but like to the average listener, like these things like BP 157, I threw out glutathione, some other stuff.
Don't forget about thymosin alpha after this too.
Okay, yeah, and that's why I want you guys to talk and why those things are important, and that kind of tell a story of why you chose them. And
so BPC 157, it's got a really fun name. It's Body Protection Compound 157.
Oh,
I don't know if there was
badass.
156 before that. I'm not
That's
sure.
That's the coolest name. Yeah.
But BPC 157. It's a gastric peptide. It's obviously your gut, your stomach is a very acidic environment. Your lining needs to be replenished. It needs to be grown over and over and over and over again. And that's where BPC 157 comes in. Now, if you inject that, if you swallow it, the oral form is going to work. It's going to be systemic either way. So it goes around your bloodstream and it finds certain signaling molecules from damaged tissue, injured tissue, and it's drawn to that. And from it grows new blood cells. It brings cells there to help. New blood vessels. It brings cells there to help grow it. They don't for sure know exactly what mechanism it is, but it works.
Okay,
it works.
The let's pick up on this after we take a quick break. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll be right back. And welcome back, guys. We just took a little break. And like I said when we started out, I'm here with Josh and John from Ikon. Guys, before we took the break, we started talking about BPC 157, I believe.
Body Protection Compound.
And you were going into some detail about how it... what's the word I'm looking for? How it works.
The mechanism.
Yes, mechanism of action.
So
yes.
There's too many. I don't know that they know exactly what it is, and this is the emerging field of peptides because you're not going to be. You can't patent it. You can't sell it. I mean, you can sell it, but you can't own the patent to it. I don't believe like anything natural. So the money's not there.
Yeah.
And it's funny because speaking of corticosteroids, you know what? One of the best things to do if you've ever taken corticosteroids is BPC 157. Because it not only with corticosteroids you're just suppressing that inflammation to reduce the pain response to it. With BPC 157 you're actually healing the tissues, and with especially your gut tissues and corticosteroids eat your gut up. I mean, I wrote a whole article for Ikon Health blog about corticosteroids.
It was just weird all the extra inflammation I would get when like my body would puff up so bad for like 3 days. I was getting for like 7 years, I would get epidurals in my back and in my neck with corticosteroids, and yeah, you just puff up and you just feel like shit for like 3 days.
Well, it's just cortisol. I mean, what is? I don't even know what is the one where you have too much cortisol, and that's exactly what you get. You get the edema all over the body. You get the puffy eyes, stuff like that. But yeah, BPC 157, like I said, it's the gateway peptide because it not only is it effective, but it's like you can't get hurt from it. Now the one concern is because of the way potential mechanism is called angiogenesis, new blood cell formation. Okay. If you do have like pre-existing
like a
cancer,
blood cell, like a white or red.
I'm sorry, blood vessels. So blood vessels, and that's the issue with cancer. If a cancerous growth starts taking over the blood cell vessel formation and getting its own blood supply, it's pretty much game over at that point because it's just gonna snowball. It's gonna get bigger, and that's the concern with BPC 157. But that hasn't fleshed out.
Chronic use or
that hasn't. Yeah, so that's the thing. I mean, you look at growth hormone, for instance. How many athletes were taking growth hormone 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and there's no body count. There's no death count from it attributed to it, anyways. Yeah. I mean, you'll get the short term, like somebody had like a heart attack or something, and that's the bodybuilders you're talking about.
And it's tough to say whether that was an anabolic. Or,
exactly, and it's like and there's never going to be a long term longitudinal study of any of these peptides. And that's what sucks about any of these research on nutrients, anything like that, sports supplements. What they do is they do it on an unhealthy population, and then people try to extrapolate that. Supplement industry tries to extrapolate that to normal people, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, a lot of the data research, and a few guys specifically stated, he's like, everything you see, like, and this is any research you see generally when from anything trying to figure out how many like ibuprofen the average person needs to take, 2 or something like that. On the data curves, everything is geared towards like the low and the average. They totally take outliers out of the equation altogether, which is so shitty because the extraordinary findings that come with outliers is a lot of times like the key to opens up everything to understand how it works. And so BPC 157, does that protecting the body, so does it play a role in recovery?
Yeah, exactly.
As well?
So it literally it's healing tissues at like a cellular level. Okay. It's telling the body to heal that tissue. It's putting into places the mechanisms that are going to. So there's
you inject it like in specific areas?
Yeah, you'd want to, but it's systemic. So unless say you have something wrong with your knee, unless you get into the actual joint capsule where the inflammation is happening.
You definitely don't want to get in the joint space.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. You're at home. Do that. See how that feels. But it's going to be systemic anyway.
Yeah, that's the same guy that would give themselves like IOs just for fun. Like, there's videos people in the military like doing.
What is that called again? For the sucking chest wound. But what was it?
Oh no, this is for the if you can't get a vein or anything, and the guy can't tolerate water or anyway, you got to go off, say, through the thigh or the sternum, because those are the only 2 places you produce red blood cells as an adult. So there's this. It looks like a medieval torture device. It's
there's something they put on you first, right?
Yeah, it's one large needle surrounded by about 10 anchoring needles, and you stick it and you press it till it goes through the bone.
I saw that on Alien.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. And you just hear this like crunching noise, and medics do it to each other all the time in every branch, and they just scream in pain.
There's like a soft part right in the sternum.
Well, softer. Yeah. It beats using a drill, which is your other option.
The worst I had was the nasopharyngeal.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, it feels like it's going to go in your brain.
It does.
Yeah. It's horrible.
But the BPC, I think the important distinction to make is these aren't supplements. These are tools. These are extremely precise tools. And when used appropriately and when used effectively, it depends on, obviously, like you said, we get I'm not sure what pharmacy we get it from. That's John's forte.
There's a few, yeah.
But there's only a few pharmacies that can make peptides effectively, right? It's a pretty difficult process.
It was tough, because I know just my own doctor who I had got mine from, they've had to change labs like 3 different times because a lot of them will stop because it's not profitable. Like or not as profitable as they thought, because
there's regulation too, and they're trying to skirt around it or figure out how to produce ones that are available. So
tailor-made pharmacy or tailor-made compounding
they mostly shut down.
They're mostly shut down. They were the leaders. They are the leaders because, like I said, it's extremely difficult, and I think that was my hesitation because I didn't understand peptides. I mean, you see it on like all this like bodybuilding forums and stuff by these peptides, and I bought Austrian MK67. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
Which is technically a SARM.
It's a SARM,
right?
yeah. But like it's all I in my mind I had them all in that same bucket.
Yeah.
SARMs are questionable in every way, shape, or form.
They're
The FDA's going
weird,
after 'em,
and
too.
I had it written down to ask you guys about them too, because I obviously the name selective androgenic
Receptor
modulator.
Yeah.
The way I originally understood it was completely not how they work at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so can you talk about like what a difference between a SARM and a peptide are? They're probably a massive difference. But...
I think functionally you can think of them as the same thing. It's a molecule, and I've stayed away from SARMs, but I understand what they are.
I played with them for a short duration, and then when I started reading about long-term use of certain ones can affect like permanent vision loss.
Yes, that was one of the big things.
Like,
people are going blind.
I don't want to fuck with this
geez,
just to get big muscles.
Going blind to get a little bit of muscle, but you would have paid that price, wouldn't you? When you were a kid, you did pay that price.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you would have gladly. 5 pounds of muscle this year. Yes, I'll take that.
Yeah.
But so SARM, the selective androgen receptor modulator.
It's so funny how we do that too, isn't it? Like
you still see it, and it's kind of heart-wrenching rather, because you want to help people, and a lot of people aren't at the stage when they're ready to be helped, especially guys. Like men are the last people that will take advice in the gym, and it can get frustrating. But anyways, back to SARMs.
Yeah.
So basically it's the same thing. Like with a peptide, you're targeting a very specific receptor. You're targeting you want a very specific action, and that's the beauty of a peptide, is it's not going to have these peripheral effects. With a SARM, theoretically you're attacking a specific receptor, androgen receptor, and you're supposed to get all the benefits of steroids theoretically without the side effects. The problem is that doesn't play out.
Because the whole theory is when it increases the amount of receptors, that's a higher propensity for it to bind to something.
Theoretically, I mean, the big thing is so you have an androgen receptor, and I'm not even sure if I remember correctly, you don't even have androgen receptors in muscle regardless. Theoretically, you turn on an androgen receptor, which is that masculinizing receptor, that whole system, and theoretically you can gain muscle without getting the side effects of steroids. But honestly, like at this point, nobody should even be looking into them. They're a joke. I mean, the guys at Mind Pump said this a long time ago, but if you're gonna take SARMs, just take steroids. Just take testosterone. We know what testosterone does.
Yeah, it's probably, like, it's weird to say, but it's probably exponentially safer.
It's so much. Your body knows how to metabolize it. I mean, obviously, you don't want to be doing grams a week. I mean, what's Dallas McCarver taken by the time he had that?
Probably a gram or two, or
It just, you have to continue doing it, and just with exercise, just with weight loss, whatever it is, do the least amount of work possible.
Yeah.
Do get light exposure, make sure that you sleep, move, lift weights, all these things before you try to take something like a SARM. Learn how to actually exercise appropriately before you try to inject these things. And by the way, the SARMs, if you're buying them off the internet, they specifically say not for human consumption.
Yeah.
Like, you're not supposed to take them.
Yeah. There's I think I still had my when I got out, I got licensed up to just because I was trying to get into the flight medic program towards the end of being in the Army. So I got up to my paramedic license, and so I still had that before it expired. And you could sign off as being a medical practitioner to an extent to get like the SARMs or other injectables and stuff like that. But I think that only lasted for a little while before they figured out everyone was just faking a signature and clicking a box. And
yeah, hopefully it was a SARM, because
yeah,
at this point you might as well just assume that it's some kind of black market steroid from China. And like the thing is, China does really good work with peptides. China makes badass peptides when that's what they are. That's the thing. Like they can make them fine, but you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah. So
it's not like, oh, it's China, they make it. They do a good job. That's where a lot of the research is coming from. It's not coming from the United States. Peptide research is not happening other than like the N=1, the people doing it, as a functional medicine practitioner helping patients. Like, they're seeing results, but the research isn't there yet.
Yeah, most of the research I'm seeing is either coming out of like China, Japan, or Israel.
Australia's doing a good job too. Yeah. And it's funny because I think I don't remember what it was, some Eastern European country. They have really lax moral ethical standards with their research, so they're far ahead of us.
It's not surprising.
Yeah, but a lot of the research on it is just people giving anecdotal reports.
Yeah.
And it's effective. So peptides are effective. Back to the nutrient injections, like
and some of those other ones, like let's see, I can't remember. I'm remembering off the top of my head. John, you mentioned one specifically, the
TA1, thymosin alpha 1.
Okay. Now what is that?
It's another peptide.
Yeah, it's.
Okay.
I mean, so with any of these, we understand that it works, and oftentimes we don't know for sure why yet. And that's kind of the name of the game with peptides, because they're not going to have the intervention studies. So thymosin alpha 1, it's a fragment of, which is peptide, is a fragment of a protein found in the thymus. It's a immune system modulator, it up or down. It's like so think of it like an adaptogen.
Okay.
If you're stressed, if you're stressed, it'll help you calm you down. If you're too relaxed, it'll help you energize.
So it's sort of like a lot of the different mushrooms.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. But thymosin alpha 1 is super interesting, but it's like also not very, like the research isn't there yet for me to give like a hard and fast on how everything works.
Yeah.
But with the world that we are in currently, where your immune system needs every little edge that it can get, that would be the end. That would be like step 5 of sleeping well, eating well, exercising, moving, stress reduction. Then try things like TA1, stuff like that.
Now, does it have, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I probably am, glutathione sort of works in a similar fashion?
No, so glutathione is really just your master antioxidant.
Okay.
It's in every single cell. It's the unsung hero of our body. It just like any antioxidant, it just is there to modulate the inflammatory response.
Okay.
Same thing with vitamin C. Humans are strange because we can't make our own vitamin C when we need it. Every other animal, except for like guinea pigs and a couple other animals, can make vitamin C at will based on stress response. Like if you're stressed, you're stressed, you're sick, whatever, you have an increased what's called total physiological load, how far away from homeostasis you are, and what that load requires for you to bring back to homeostasis. With glutathione, actually it sucks because the only like intervention studies out there are for skin whitening. If you look for if you Google,
a lot of aesthetic places are doing them for that reason.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know, with all the stuff that's going on right now, I'm not trying to be more white. It's
no, glutathione has a ton of utility in the body, and like we just don't pay attention to it. Sulfurous vegetables are a great way to increase the precursor for glutathione, but honestly, like you said, you can't take it, you can't orally take it and have it go anywhere other than stomach separated in amino acids. Then you're done. You don't have any more glutathione.
And there's a surprising amount of things on the supplement market that are like that need to be injected or taken in a different way, because as you mentioned earlier, your gut destroys it before it has a chance to have any therapeutic effect in your body.
Yeah, you hope it does, because you don't want undigested proteins getting through. Some do, but my favorite one is, have you had Bucked Up? My goodness! So it allegedly has.
I think they've contacted everyone to be an ambassador at one point or another. It's like,
am I gonna ruin something for you?
No. Yeah, they
working
like
hard,
send out a
Josh.
thing like, hey, we've checked out your page and we want you to rep us. And then I go and look at all the people they're repping, and I'm like,
So Bucked Ups allegedly has deer antler velvet in it. Whether it does or not is irrelevant. But deer antler velvet is one of the most rich sources of IGF, because it's growing very quickly. It's one of the fastest growing tissues in the world, and they tell you that you're taking IGF, but the moment that IGF hits your stomach, it's no longer IGF, it's fragments of its proteins, amino acids, it's broken down in amino acids. And like, that's just a perfect example. It's like, so that they know that they're not stupid. They made a supplement company and created a supplement. They know that it doesn't work.
and
that's a lot of it.
Yeah. And you get that, what's the difference? In reading a lot of these studies, a lot of them are done, in vitro and in utero, and there's a completely different way it affects your body once it gets inside of it, as opposed to what it does in a controlled lab experiment.
Oh my gosh, yeah. In vitro, in a cell culture, they'll take that and like, this causes cancer, but it's in a cell culture. Like, we're not a pile of cells in an auger.
Yeah, and it's funny, but people will go completely off of them, they'll be like, "Yep, checks the box, put it on the market as this."
Exactly. Or they, like I said, they take a study from postmenopausal women and it increased testosterone 1%, and they're like, okay, this increases testosterone. Yeah, it did. In old ladies who no longer have testosterone, it's rife with that. So you can pretty much narrow down, like, the list of supplements that work is far shorter than the list, or I'm sorry, that don't work. The list of supplements that work is far shorter than one that doesn't.
Oh, right.
It's all contextually dependent, though, because, like, say you come to me and you're like, I want to try this pre-workout. It says that you get 3% better, whatever, blood vessel dilation. But, like, that's the classic thing is it's a fact, but does it matter? Is that going to actually be relevant to you? The fact that you got a 1% increase in testosterone when your testosterone is fine, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
So, like, all of the, you could, like I said, the list is short of
if
the ones
you're
that work.
talking about like men like 60 and above or something, maybe that has some more relevance.
Like the leucine thing. So for a while, the BCAAs were all the rage because isoleucine, leucine, and valine. They found that BCAAs increase anabolism in old men. And then they transfer that to guys who have nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with them. And they say this is, and then you're out there drinking BCAAs all day, which, oh, by the way, they outcompete tryptophan for transporting in the brain and can cause depression, but they're drinking gallons of BCAAs.
I just read a study on that.
Yeah.
I think it was, I was reading about the, I think I can't remember if the company's called Neuro Collective or something.
Neurohacker Collective?
Yeah. They have, I think, two big supplements, one Eternus and another one
Qualia
that are nootropics. And I was researching the stuff on them and some of the active ingredients in it, and somewhere in the research papers it made that link about BCAAs in large chronic use. Can have all these horrible cognitive effects on you.
And it's not an issue until you're drinking gallons of it a day, in which people are. And like,
when you're doing that and then throw together like an overuse of testosterone and other hormones that a lot of competitors are doing in certain cases, that's like a perfect storm.
And
I want you to know you are ruining my whole workout experience right now. You need to know that, okay?
You haven't heard the list of ones
I
that
just
work
want you
yet.
to feel how he made me feel yesterday when I was trying to just enjoy my protein drink.
Oh man, so I grabbed that bottle yesterday, and I'm like, without a doubt, there's carrageenan in this, without a doubt.
And can you tell them what carrageenan is?
So Haley and I were just talking about the other day. We're gonna work on this like harmful ingredient of the week and post that every week.
I would love that. I think that's an excellent idea.
And it sucks because there's just so much information. Everybody's looking for like an edge of like, oh, this is the new information, and I want to be the person that tells you, and then you'll like me and follow me and everything like that. But that's not what we want. We want to actually help people. And like, if you're doing a huge disservice if you're drinking these pre-made protein drinks, and like most people, they are doing a lot of other things wrong. But like you're drinking probably the worst thing you're doing is drinking that protein shake, which is the exact opposite of what you think. You think you're doing yourself a good job.
Right.
So carrageenan is a derivative of red seaweed, and they use it to induce inflammation in laboratory tests. So
Dude, have you guys heard that? Induce
to make
inflammation.
you inflame, so they can test anti-inflammatory whatever methods. Yeah, it's in everything though. It's in anything that freaking rotisserie chickens.
Really?
Do you know how many times I've put a rotisserie chicken back just pissed off because they coat it in all this stuff that includes carrageenan, and then you have all the oxidized
Chris
oils
and I
that
will
are on
now
there.
starve to death.
No, you're good.
You're ruining my Costco experience.
We need to stop this.
Don't get it at Costco.
Costco.
Is it the Costco one too?
Costco's the worst.
I'm 99% sure it's an all ice cream. Like, I'm pretty sure.
You're probably right. Yeah.
Not Halo Top or Rebel. If you want to down a pint of Rebel, you'll be fine.
I will down a pint of any ice cream.
I still have yet
but
to
also,
try
yes,
Halo
good.
Top. I really need to.
Go with Rebel. It's not Halo Top's not all that
Can you
great.
get it?
Pretty much anywhere. It's
Okay.
a keto. It's just very relatively low carb. I mean, don't kid yourself thinking it's healthy. I mean,
Yeah.
but
I know that. Yeah. Yeah.
So the carrageenan though, yeah, it's in everything. It's a thickening agent. The rotisserie chicken, if you get one from Fred Meyer, when they have them, they have some without. You just have to get like the more expensive.
They have
one.
some antibiotic free. Like
The more expensive, bigger one is.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of like a list of common ingredients. I mean, carrageenan's it's on that list, but oxidized oils, vegetable oil, stuff like that, it's so insidious because it's in every single packaged food. And it's not like, I had a little bit of oil today, it's an issue. When you're having something in a box or a bag or a package, it has oil.
Now, when you say like oxidized oil as opposed to, I guess, oil in general? What's the...
So inherently, there's no good or bad oils. If you were to
Okay.
take, well, I say that, but don't hold me to that. Most your oils are going to be fine. But what
Sort of
happens is they're
indifferent.
not stable. It comes down to like the molecular structure, not to
Okay,
get too in
okay.
depth. I mean, like omega 3s, omega 6, all that stuff, omega 6, 7, 9. But it's not that so much. They're not stable, and then they get put into a light environment. They get put into varying temperatures. They're gonna bake it. They're gonna fry it. Whatever it is they're doing to prepare this food, it's oxidizing this oil to the point now your body's gonna try to use those fats to create like cell membranes to create hormones, and you'll get by it for a certain amount of time, just like you'll get by on a micronutrient deficiency for a certain amount of time. But eventually, it's gonna come to pass.
Yeah, what are the other kids? So we hit BPC 157, we hit glutathione, and the
Thymosin alpha 1.
thymosin alpha 1. I know on the there's what am I forgetting? I know there's...
That's most of them. I mean, we talked about these security gut peptides like CJC 1295,
Okay, yeah.
ipamorelin,
And
samorelin.
that's probably one of the more powerful
Yeah,
The
the
CJC, right?
CJC.
of those type of peptides.
Yeah,
Okay.
that one's mixed with because CJC is a GHRH, and then
Okay.
ipamorelin is a GH as a GHRP.
So
it's
they
a
probably
peptide.
synergistically, they probably
Yeah.
work best together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing with
Okay.
so there's 3 hormones that regulate growth hormone secretion. The first one is the GHRH, growth hormone releasing hormone. Then you have ghrelin, the one that they just recently found. I think it's like 1999 they
And
found
that's
it.
a hunger-inducing
They're-
hormone.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. Has appetite regulation of all kinds, and then across throughout your entire body.
Because that's sort of what gives you with, I think when I use CJC, that big pit in your stomach.
Makes you real
That's
hungry.
that ghrelin, right?
No, so that's the upper Maryland. CJC,
Oh, okay.
CJC. I mean, anytime you're having like any type of hormonal interaction of any kind, you can't really tell what's going to happen 100%. Everybody's
Yeah.
going to react differently. But so the 3 hormones, ghrelin and this somatostatin, is the one that shuts off growth hormone release. That's the thing with CJC. It's a GHRH, and then ipamorelin, that's the stack that they usually do, and that is a ghrelin mimic. So you get
Okay.
both hands. So the CJC, it's got a shorter half-life, correct? Or is it?
It's actually longer.
It's longer, and then the
samorelin was a short one.
the short the
Yeah.
short one. How long is ipamorelin?
I think it was literally days. That one.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
what it is. It's that tiered response from it. Yeah, they're amazing. I'm gonna be honest. Like I was blown away.
What the shortest?
Samorelin.
Samorelin,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
really
that's what I
quick. Yep.
thought, yeah.
And so they would tell you to take it at night, so it would mimic your, especially men.
That pulse,
Right.
Because women have more of a slow release throughout the day, whereas men have a big pulse at night.
Right.
Which is partly why they have that sex drive at night more often. So
The let's see what else. God, you said something and I totally lost my train of thought.
the peptides.
That was one of the toughest things I remember doing CJC 1295 is trying to like hold that like an hour or two or something before, when you just want to rage, you want to eat so bad. And I remember that being challenging, but it's
only for some people. Like I don't get that at all with
Yeah,
CJC.
that's why it's interesting.
I just loved how-
Ipamorelin will do that. Is actually one that's not supposed to do that very much, right? And so I've never noticed that with GHRP2, GHRP6. I think it was GHRP6, right? That would that one caused like raging hormone. Well, I mean the response with the ghrelin, right?
Yeah,
So
that was a tough one too. I think I always had, I believe, my best results when I did the CJC though. So that would be one I would definitely, not that it matters, but the Heath Oven stamp of approval, which means nothing to nobody. So
does to me.
Something we want to
Well, thank you.
clarify though, like when someone comes in and they're coaching with us, and we eventually may recommend peptides, it's at the tail end of making sure they're doing a lot of stuff right, because
Okay.
we can't dump some peptide in them and expect anything to work. I mean, so sometimes you have to treat the symptom before you can treat the cause, and we always want to attack the cause, but sometimes you have to take a step back and be like, okay, how do we get this person to even be responsive to treating the cause?
And that's important, because that's a big thing that separates you guys from anybody else. We talked about this at the gym the other day. There's so many. The fitness industry is so guilty as hell about this. The aesthetic industry is really bad about it too. Is like just fixing the outside, but not fixing what's on the inside.
Sick, healthy people. Or
Yeah.
sick, fit people. Rather.
Yeah, sick, healthy people. You made another great statement that stuck with me. And I've actually used it in 2 conversations with people
You're
since.
welcome.
Overfed, undernourished.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I did give you credit for it. I did not pawn it off as my own.
Well, that comes
So-
from we have 2 drives to eat. One is the energy, obviously, but that's not a problem anymore. That's our problem, but it's not a fight we have to have anymore. And then there's the one for actual nutrition, micronutrients, fatty acids, amino acids. And if you're not fulfilling that secondary one, you could be eating all day. It's like you can eat a whole bag of chips. Did you need 2,000 calories worth of chips? No, but your body wasn't getting.
Some
it did
days
not
I
find.
really think I do.
Siete, though. Siete.
Yeah.
Are you what
Have you
kind
had
of
to
chips
see-
you talking about?
Yeah.
Siete tortillas.
Brings an excellent
There you go.
question.
Oh,
There's and things like that come into play that I've read a lot of articles on. What we mentioned earlier, that kind of neural connection with your brain and your stomach. Certain things like high fructose corn syrup disrupting that signal. So things you're eating, you continue to eat because your internal calorie regulator is essentially turned off.
Well, you continue to eat because they hire evolutionary biologists to help design food to make it hyper palatable, so you cannot resist. We didn't have high fat, high carb, high salt in a food.
Oh, there's almost
Ever.
more R&D done with a potato chip company than
Yes.
there is with cancer.
Yep.
It's insane, and it's because this has to do with money, obviously. Which I'm all for capitalism and stuff like that, so I'm not going to take a shit on that, but. It's discouraging. It's discouraging and disheartening. It's
Very much. I mean, then you go even deeper, and you have companies like Coca-Cola and Nestle, or these big corporations that are owning organic certifying companies. So they're certifying their foods as organic, and they're not. They're not even close to organic.
So crazy.
But they design these to drive you to overeat, and it's not even a joke. And also, I mean, I'm not putting all the responsibility on them. People have to make decisions.
right.
For
We
themselves.
definitely, and I don't want to give that impression either. We have onus for our own actions. But yeah, sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, you see these eating behaviors that are just so far, and then you hear like intuitive eating. That's the new hot thing, and you're supposed to listen to your body, but you can't do that when your signals are hijacked from these companies that are giving you this. And we're not. I mean, the intuitive eating, you have to value food for more than just calories in, calories out, protein, whatever it is. You have to value it for what it gives you, what benefits it gives you. Like my favorite thing in the world is blueberries. I absolutely love blueberries because everything about them is healthful. And like I think I've told you before, there's no inherently good or bad foods, but there are foods that are going to make you healthier, or they're going to push you away from health. And a lot of times, like you said, you're getting that energy requirement, you're getting the calories, but you're not getting the nutrition. You're not getting the stuff that's going to make you healthy today, tomorrow, and for the rest of your life. And luckily, the things that are going to make you healthier now are also kind of coincide exactly with what's going to help you down the road. So it comes back to, again, like this, it's not complicated. It's difficult. It'll be a difficult process to lose weight, to become healthier, to build muscle, but it's not very, like, it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward.
And I'm glad you brought up the difficulty thing, because there was a big philosophical point that kind of dawned on me today, and it was it has a lot to do. We're doing a series of podcasts on this really cool book by a guy named Trevor Boehm called Man Uncivilized, and it's at the core of the book is essentially a lot of this stuff, and not to leave women out of this conversation. The book is specifically about men, but I know women deal with this, in a way as well. That very little that what we do in our jobs or our lifestyles is it a necessity to go through something hard. And so there's nothing to really kind of quote test us, and not physically, at least. There's a lot of incredibly mentally stressful jobs and things like that, but the lifestyles that kind of contribute that in a lot of cases are socially frowned upon. Jobs like that are disappearing at a hard rate that test you in that kind of manner. And so one of the last arenas to really test your mettle is kind of becoming here, and how you take care of yourself, and what the shit you drag yourself through to kind of see, for lack of a better statement, to see what you're made of, you know, on a daily basis. And so when you brought that up, that I think you mentioned something along those lines the other day, and I kind of started, you know, meditating on it and kind of drew the connection with that book. Is we don't have that, and when we don't have that to say specifically, man, that was wrong with me. This is all encompassing with anybody. You know, if you don't have that challenge to yourself physically, because you got to have those mental challenges and those physical challenges, but you don't have one, there's a hole that will just never get full. And we fill that hole with, you know, alcohol, CrossFit, food. You know, like
TV, alcohol and CrossFit.
Yeah, just, I mean, like different things people obsessively do, you know, and it's so bringing up that point is incredible. I mean, you know, the CrossFit cult that. Yeah, but,
hey, there's good and bad.
Oh, I know.
To be fair, I thought you were,
and I practice it too.
Yeah,
I thought you were when I first met you.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that process,
Functional
that's just
training.
the hero's journey, right? That's just going out in the world, the unknown, slaying the dragon, coming home, being a better person because of it. But then you look at that and you apply that to the average person trying to get in shape, trying to lose weight, whatever it is, and they go for the jugular, they go for the 10 out of 10 right away, and that's something. Oh my gosh, I've had to tell this to so many people. I'm never going to stop telling it. But you have to start where you are. Like, I mean, you have to start with set very, very small goals, do the least amount of work possible, because you're going to have to do more, and you're going to be in this for the long run if you want it to be sustainable. So that when I'm saying that it's going to be difficult, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult to lose 100 pounds. It was difficult to put that on. You may have thought it was easy, but your body didn't want to do that.
Right.
It's going to be a difficult process, gaining weight and gaining muscle, becoming healthier, all that stuff, but it's a necessary process. And if you try to shortchange that, every single step of that process, like you go hold a whole spectrum. Point A, you're fat, overweight, you know, you want to lose weight. B is whatever your, you know, idea of success for that goal is. Every single step along that journey is important. You can't skip any part of that journey because you're going to screw up a million times. You're going to regress a million times. And it's funny because I'm a little bit contrary to some of the fitness industry, because I tell people to weigh themselves every single day. Yeah. Because I don't care. I let them know it's data.
Is that just so they have something to quantify?
No, it has nothing to do with that per se. It's because I want they're going to have to quantify. Yeah. We have to get information. So yeah, you're right on that point. Like, I'm quantifying their data. I'm making sure that they're sleeping well. I'm tracking their sleep.
It's a necessary evil.
Everything. Yeah. I'm tracking their food, all that stuff. It's necessary because you're not aware anymore. You're so far separated from any internal cue that you could have used to put you on the right path to health and fitness that it's a joke. You can't listen to that anymore. People will be like, oh, it's going to create bad relationships with food. It's going to create, you know, a bad relationship with the scale, body image issues, whatever.
Only if you allow it to.
If you look at it as something more than data, that's all it is. And the reason I do that is because, say you come in and you want to lose weight and you've tried everything. I mean, how many times have we had a client that said, like, I haven't lost weight in 20 years. I've tried every trainer, and then I'm with them for a month and they start losing weight. And because it's
the low hanging fruit.
It's the low hanging fruit, 100%. But I have them weigh themselves every single day. And the reason why is because if you weigh yourself Monday and then you weigh yourself again on Friday, you don't know if that is an actual representation of what any progress that you made. You may have had a ton of processed food with a bunch of sodium, a bunch of carbs the day before, and now you're holding on to water and you gain 3 pounds or up to like 5 pounds of water weight, and you're like, oh, okay, the scale's up, and now you make a decision based off of that, but it's the wrong information. But if you had weighed yourself every single day, within weeks you're gonna notice, okay, some days I'm up 3 pounds, some days I'm down 2 pounds. Oh, you're all over the place, but you see the trend going down. And that's invaluable. That tells you that you're on the right course.
Because there needs to be a positive feedback loop.
Exactly.
With getting information like
exactly.
that.
And you have to have successes. But if you're just periodically checking in on your progress, if you're only weighing yourself once a week, you're just shooting in the dark. Like, you don't know if you're even weighing yourself on the right day to know if you were making progress. And then you also have to consider the scales are not very accurate. As long as they're consistent, it's fine. But you have to do that every single day so you can see over time.
Well, of course, weight is only one point of data, too.
Exactly.
So you're looking at a lot of other things.
Yeah, I mean, it's important. It's the most easily quantified piece of data, but I'm more interested, honestly, in how they're sleeping. How's their sex drive? Are they handling stress? Are they recovering from their workouts? Are they able to live? Are they feeling strong in the gym? If you're losing weight and you're staying strong, or at least not losing strength, you're doing fine. But there's not much other metrics that can tell you if you're losing muscle until weeks, months down the road, and you realize, oh, dang, I lost a bunch of lean body mass. So
You hear Josh talking all the time about sleep, and some of the things we do, to try to get in better shape ruins our sleep half the time. We're taking, like he said, you take
Pre-workout
a
at 4
pre-workout,
p.m.
So then we start doing these things to try to get in better health, and we're actually kind of ruining that. So
yeah, or people
you can't start there at least.
they're cutting out cutting out sleep so they can do cardio. I did tell 2 people today, if you are going to make a decision for health and fitness, if you're trying to lose weight and you are skipping sleep to do cardio, that is the exact I cannot think of a worse thing to do. Like everything about your body, the hormonal milieu that happens, your cognitive function, not being able to think properly, your drive for excess calories when you don't sleep.
Like living in a constant sleep deprived state, it's terrifying. Reading like books about it, it's that's the quickest way. Like if you're talking about killing yourself, that's probably the most efficient way of killing yourself that exists besides taking matters into your own hands.
All of us are like, crap.
But
oh my gosh, everyone in the room, by the way.
I tell people, protect your sleep like your life depends on it. Like it truly does.
King's not concerned at all. He sleeps great.
Yeah.
He'll sleep for 12 hours. My wife, on the other hand, I have told her countless times, she's like, should I wake up and go to the gym? I'm like, no, try sleeping more than 4 hours. That'd be good.
Start there.
Yeah. Turns out I'm a genius. I've never read any articles, but I know I feel great when I sleep. Less great when I run.
Right.
Like after a nap, I feel amazing. So
And it can be that easy, right? It can be pay attention to your body. When you notice you eat something, you feel like garbage a couple days later, stop eating that food. Like we have to, at some point we stopped listening to our bodies and we started listening to what people told us to do.
Well, it probably kind of correlates with that same kind of lack of presence of mind we've just had as a overstimulated cultural ADHD that just exists. Nobody's present anymore, and there's so many. Yeah, there's so many. Yeah, exactly, and that centers you, pulls you down. It gives it grounds you. Grounding is a thing. I need you guys to get into that.
Yeah. Well, I know another place in the Tri-Cities that tries to do that. So
okay,
but the EMF mats.
Yeah.
That's what you just walk outside without shoes on.
That's true too.
People look at you like you're weird, but
I'm kind of into high tech stuff too, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly. I mean, I was living in Austin, and outside of our house was a 5G antenna.
Yeah.
All around us was Wi-Fi. I'm getting blasted with all these frequencies that my body doesn't know what to do with.
Right.
I mean, you talk about the bees that they're getting shoved out of cities because of all the signals, and something like that, like the grounding mat, that's the kind of situation where it might be beneficial. You never replace the earth, you never replace getting in nature, but you can use tools like that in situations like that to do the best that you can. Like we turned off our Wi-Fi every night there, but I guarantee you I was getting blasted from the neighbors. Like luckily we have a switch at our new house that just cuts that Wi-Fi. All these things contribute.
Oh yeah, like grounding, standing, if you should if you're not already in love with them, fall in love with waterfalls. They have some of the standing close to that mist, or in it or close to it, is one of the better things you can do for your well-being because of those ions. And it's a lot of stuff you get from the grounding as well.
Well, you want a little trick that you can do anywhere. So if you can see a horizon, I'm so happy we can see a horizon from my house now. We have a hill behind our house, and I absolutely love it because you can see. But so something about horizons, like seeing other than right in front of us. So we only would focus on things, hyper-focus on things, a screen, a phone, whatever, when we were like stressed, when we were getting chased by an animal, when we were chasing an animal. Now we do it every single day. We're looking at stuff right in front of us. We never look at a horizon. So the stress reduction response, the physiological effect of seeing horizons on a regular basis. So is that
something about perspective?
It's even a picture. You can look at a picture of a horizon. It's something. It's almost like one of those things where we think that we're such advanced beings, but like we can kind of trick ourselves really easily. That's one of the ways that we can do it. Just staring at a horizon, I'm sure it has something to do with it. It's the fact that you're no longer hyper focused on one thing. It's the same thing with breathing. Like I'm surprised we haven't talked about breathing, because breath work.
Oh yeah, intentional breathing and breath work. Wim Hof.
It's the
yeah.
way to backtrack or to hotwire your systems, your nervous system. So if we're stressed and we're breathing through our chest, we're going to have a more sympathetic arousal. We're going to be more in that stress state. The way to reverse that is to just breathe through your stomach, breathe through your diaphragm, open up all the way, and now you're back into pushing that spectrum, pushing that slider back to parasympathetic. It's the same thing with looking at the horizon. You're no longer hyper focused on something right in front of you. Your body's probably fine, because if you had people coming at you, if you had a neighboring tribe coming at you had animals coming at you, you're not going to be just gazing off into the horizon. So same thing with drinking water. If you're drinking water, if you were probably safe, you're not going to be sitting there drinking water while you're getting attacked by something or something.
Yeah, unless whatever you're drinking is incredibly good.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's throw that caveat in there. Yeah.
I don't know about Topo Chico.
Like Topo Chico, the official water of Bored to Death podcast.
It's like everyone does things just because they get paid.
Yeah, right.
Do we have a third part to this, or because we're about that time? You want to take a break and make a third part, or do you want to wrap it up?
I can
Always do another podcast.
Yeah, I kind of want to get into, like, I know, like, you guys have both been so forthcoming with like a ton of knowledge and stuff like that. What are some of the things you guys do personally? I mean, I'm assuming some of the exact same things, but that you're that you're comfortable talking about it, I guess. To like take care of like your own well-being and to keep yourselves present and in the moment.
Comfortability and legality are two different things. So
yeah. It's an excellent. That's a good distinction. Yes.
Yeah.
Not yet. If I need one.
Yeah.
No. So mine's gonna be far different from John's, because John's got a family, and like I can't even imagine trying to raise a family, working at a business, and also, by the way, there's a quarantine happening. But so like my big thing is sleep is the most important thing by far. So anything that I can do to protect sleep, that's why I'm wearing these right now, because these would be disrupting my circadian.
And those
rhythm.
are blue light blockers.
Blue light blockers, yeah. I want to get some nerdier ones, so I don't know if Haley will let me.
I've got some super nerdy ones. I got the
They're
orange.
yeah.
I've got a pair. I got a pair of clear lens and orange ones from
Yeah, you're ahead of me then.
Raw Optics Greenfield talked about.
These are Felix Gray's.
Okay.
But so I guess I just walk you through a little schedule. So I wake up right now, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I'm
like
waking
a
up at
day in
4.
the life of one.
He's weird, by the way.
I am. I'm an anomaly.
You don't have to be like Josh. No, he's good weird, but yeah.
So the way that I do things, the way that I learn things, is I deep dive, and then I say, okay, what is this? What if this is actually practical? What is actually applicable? So when I'm doing things, it's like I know a bunch of stuff. I'm not even considering that I'm doing a good job.
Yeah.
Like I'm just doing what is practical for my life. So wake up right now, unfortunately, 4 a.m. Meditate. That's the first thing I do in the morning, because I'm waking up. I'm already thinking about work. If that's how I start my day, I'm in a sympathetic state right away. I'm stressed right off the bat.
Reactionary.
Exactly. Drink a bunch of water as soon as you get up. Hydration's obviously key, but I mean, honestly, I'm a far less structured than I used to be because of Haley.
Yeah.
She's
Relationships.
but in some ways, it's good.
Yeah.
I just like when I'm eating food, they have a purpose. When I'm doing exercises, it has a purpose. Everything that I do, I'm doing for a reason. I'm waking up, I'm meditating to bring my nervous system into a right state for the day, get my mindset ready, drinking water. I don't take many supplements at all, other than, we never talked about the list, but creatine and vitamin D, and I'm taking magnesium right now. That's it.
Yeah, mine's gone down. The older I've gotten, there's substantially gotten less and less too. And it's a strange phenomenon,
But the only thing, I mean, the non-negotiables in my life are lifting weights, sleeping, getting enough protein, and eating vegetables. Other than that, like, I mean, you could set up the perfect world for yourself, but life's going to happen.
And that's incredible. Like you mentioned non-negotiables, like your shoulds and your musts and those things. And if you don't take care of your musts, that affects your relationship with yourself. which then in turn definitely affects your relationship with somebody else.
Yeah, because you know that you're not doing what you told yourself you would.
Yeah.
So you can't have a ton of non-negotiables though, because then you're just setting yourself up for failure.
Right,
So
right.
you have to whittle that down to what matters, and you can apply that to everything. You can apply it to nutrition. You can apply it to fitness. You can apply that to whatever spiritual practice you have. You have to have those. It's not a line that I cross. I live at least 3 times a week, right? It depends on the schedule, but right now we're lifting 3 times a week. If you lift, if you don't lift, you're not the same person.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, you're addicted to this now. It's like, this is physiologically benefiting you, psychologically benefiting you on every single level. So, I mean, John's the same way. I know John gets in some lifts every now and again right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's in the gym as often as anyone else, but man, that's really my non-negotiables is protecting your sleep like your life depends on it.
Yeah.
It truly does. Other than that, like react to the world. You don't have as much control as you think you do, you know?
Yeah.
You got people like Ben Greenfield who got everything buckled down and they're still on quarantine. Like they're still stuck at home. So life happens.
Yeah. And he even, I think I was listening to, I can't remember when it was actually recorded or something, but he's even pretty sure even with his quarantine, he got coronavirus.
I think, yeah.
And some sort of respiratory infection or something. But
well, what is one of the biggest indicators for a adverse, less than favorable outcome from a respiratory tract infection? It's low vitamin D levels.
Yeah. Quarantining. Yeah,
there's vitamin D receptors on most of your immune cells, and they do not get activated, or they don't function optimally or even properly without vitamin D.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, probably not necessarily in a good way, what comes after the quarantine. It's that'll be interesting to see, because and it's going to be so hard to determine what's from what, but having just a little bit of scientific background, you can kind of be like, well, and again, not to link correlation and causation all the time, but sometimes the bias exists because a lot of times it is true, and I don't think it's a stretch to see that that could be the case, when people come out of quarantine, that they're substantially less healthy than they were.
Yeah, I'd like to think that people are taking this time to take care of those things, to take care of themselves, but probably not.
Get more and deeper into, like, if you didn't have an opportunity to meditate now or get more in touch with your spiritual side, like, maybe that's ship sailed for you. Like, who knows? Because there's, and I said it, I think on a podcast before, if you're getting dumber during quarantine, like, it's your own fault. Like, it's like never in your time. Like, I've loved it. I've taken so many deep dives into this shit that I would always be like, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. But now more than ever, you got time to do these things.
This coming from a guy who hasn't missed 1 hour of work since quarantine started.
Yeah.
So, there's something to be said if you're home from work and you're not.
Yeah. And our schedule hasn't changed much, but even, we get our week off, once a month, more or less. And I just feel like I'm utilizing that time more, because places that I would normally go to waste time.
The bar.
Now it's like I'm filling that time up with books, watching YouTube shit on a certain subject. I probably go through a book on Audible once a week.
Have you, being an alcohol consumer, heard about Zbiotics?
Former. We don't. Just my employer knows.
Oh, okay. I got you. So Zbiotics.
Not until January
2021.
Something like that. Yeah.
But he's not keeping track. So.
Yeah. Anyhow.
Oh, Zbiotic is a genetically engineered probiotic that eats up acetaldehyde. So
no shit.
You go ahead and not have a hangover. You take that. Allegedly. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sorry. Come again. Yes. I'm very, very interested right now. Should we come back to this, or
we can?
Do we have a third segment, or are we gonna wrap it up?
We can kind of wrap it up.
You don't have to. You guys are really doing.
If you guys,
we coming back?
Yeah,
we can do it
I personally have an early bedtime, so
I would love to have it.
He's like, it's.
Yeah, I got to get up at 4. But I tell you, I can't be cutting out sleep when I'm telling you about it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you'd be going back in your own work.
So
it's the celery test.
So let's wrap stuff up, and I would love to have you guys on fairly regularly. That would be really cool. So to kind of recap, and I don't mean to kind of, just real quick. What about you, John? Like, what kind of stuff are you doing?
I'm a normal guy. Like we talked about, I have a family, and I go up and down. Like I used to have more of the bodybuilder mentality of like, I'm gonna get in shape, and I started working out and training and doing everything perfect, or trying to do everything perfect, and it's overboard. And so I'm very much a practitioner now of like, I need, take steps slow. Josh is talking about how you don't jump into everything all at once. You can't control everything in life. And so if I had something to say to everybody, it would be like, start with something. Start with your sleep, And so when we coach someone, we're looking at, let's find out of the 6 or 8 most important things, let's find the 2 or 3 that they really need to work on right now, and start there. So start with sleep and start moving on from their activity in general. Start walking more, So that's kind of what I do right now. I have 3 kids, and it takes a lot of my time, and a wife, and I need to spend more time with all of them. I'm working all the time.
And that's a crazy thing about it. I know, like, you've got your hand in like a lot of stuff, and like different businesses, and the hectic nature that comes with all of that, and then balancing the family life, like dealing with stress and things like that, probably be like, that's got to be your non-negotiable.
That's probably I'm the one who will go on vacation, and 3 days in, I'm like on the computer trying to work again. So I have to.
Your wife's like,
I have to teach myself to just kind of relax and let things happen, and
that's a skill in and of itself. Learning, teaching yourself to relax.
But that's where the non-negotiables come in. If you prioritize, managing your stress, prioritize making sure you're getting enough sleep. When life happens, it's not like, oh, I have to make this decision. It's like, I'm leaving now. I'm leaving here now because I'm going to go to bed at hopefully around 8 or 8:30, so I can get up at 4 and not be less healthy than I was the day before.
And be able to give the same amount of yourself to the clients. But so hopefully, guys, I'm hoping you learned as much as I did today. Like every time. That's one of the coolest things about doing stuff like this, sitting down with guys like Josh and John, and just, you always learn something, and that should be something you always thirst for is to gain knowledge, because that's it's a resource. It's a huge resource. Always pays dividends. Guys, thank you so very much for coming on. I got a shit ton of gratitude for both of you guys. John, you've always been super cool to me. Josh, it's been awesome getting to know you too as well. And here's to a ton of success, and to have you guys coming back on and continuing to talk about this. It's an overused term, but this journey that you guys are on. I think I'm really excited for both of you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bored to Deathers, thank you for listening. We'll see you soon.